Okay, folks, here's a topic that I have been kind of thinking about for a while. The GoFundMe, Indiegogo, Kickstarter. I suppose there's more that I'm not remembering off the top of my head. But basically, kind of the rise and the prevalence of these things, and maybe why you should not do one of these online fundraisers for yourself. I think that's a key point. There's so many key points. Let's get into them. First off, I think it's more suspicious when you kind of start one of these online campaigns for yourself. When you are the person who's created the campaign, and you're also the one that's going to benefit from it. I think that raises a lot of suspicions from people, or just cynicism. You know what I mean? If someone's injured or they're sick or they're in the hospital and their family needs money with the bills and stuff, or just maybe they don't even have a family, but some friends have come together to rally support, then I'm all in on that type of thing. And I have supported a friend of mine that was in that situation, and a family member put together an online fund for that, and I can appreciate that. But when you're kind of just looking, like, hey, I need a new car, or I need a motorcycle, or I need this to do that. I think it just rings with, maybe it's just a generational thing, but it rings as very, in a sense, lazy, or just kind of like, quote, pay my bills, quote. Just, we all have fucking problems. We all have bills that we are trying to pay, or maybe we're paying them on time, or maybe we're behind. But it's kind of like, why should I pay your bills? Are you going to pay mine? And I think it also kind of, when you make one of these online campaigns, you're making yourself very vulnerable, in my opinion, to people. Because, people don't forget stuff like this. Like, they'll always, 5-10 years might pass, and, oh yeah, you're the guy that, I was supposed to buy a pair of roller skates for. How's that going? And you're just going to kind of pigeonhole yourself amongst your community or whatever peers you have. You're the guy that was begging for money. There's a difference, I think, I could be wrong, between selling stuff online or even in person. You know me, I'm selling books, I'm selling stuff in my eBay store, but that's like a strict, here's a product, I'd love for you to check it out, perhaps you'll buy it. If you do, great. If you don't, life goes on. I think that's different than trying to pull at people's emotional heartstrings and guilt them into helping you with your life. This might seem cold and so forth for people out there, but I think a lot of people are starting to feel like this. Even when you talk about, this is a different topic, but tipping now. A friend of mine makes a lot of money in these POS systems, point of sale systems, where you put your credit card in or your debit card, and you have the option of giving a tip right there. And a lot of times the tips don't even start at 15%. They start at 18%, then 20, then 25. What the fuck happened to 15? And by the way, the 15%, that's supposed to be on just the food, not even beverages. Look it up. It's not 15%. It's not on beverages if you've purchased food. If you haven't purchased food and just beverages, yeah, you're supposed to tip. But the 15% was always just on the food and not on beverages or tip. So these tip people have really, found a way to tip themselves. Okay. So what else? Speaking of the POS systems, by the way, they get a kickback every time, you purchase your stuff. So you're giving up, your 18% or your 15% or your 25% if you're really nice. That's not all going to the server, for the most part. So you can look into that. You can do the research. Don't quote me. Going back to our point of topic here, the history of this stuff, it seemed like 15 years, about 15 years, maybe a little less. The first one I remember is the Kickstarter. Oh, I'm starting a project and I want people to put money into it. And so that started getting going. And then a lot of, independent filmmakers were using that, and some quite successfully, So then this other company, as I recall it, Indiegogo, came along with their focus on the independent filmmaker, which is all fine and fucking good, except there's several cases, many I would say, where the filmmakers accept people's money, but they don't actually deliver on a film, or they don't deliver. If they do make their film, they don't deliver on the perks that they promise people. And I'll be honest, a couple of times there were projects that I was involved in that did these type of things. We weren't very successful. Maybe I'm just bitter. But I never really liked doing it. I never liked being involved with crowdfunding, crowdsourcing. I just think it's desperate, and there's really not much attractive about desperation. Yet again, I have contributed at times. And when I do contribute to these type of things, it's usually for a younger person, college people who are making their first movie, something like that. I can get behind that. But people that are a little bit older or they've been around, I don't know. Once again, it's like, I'm paying your bills. When are you going to pay mine? That's my feeling. Other people might disagree. What else? Then we go from the Kickstarter and the Indiegogo, like those were at least like kind of arts-based projects related funding, and then we get into the world of GoFundMe. Now and look, I'm not picking on that company, I guess I am, but my feeling with the GoFundMe is it's always, someone just is not doing well paying their bills, but they somehow magically have the time to spend a couple of hours putting together this, webpage to bring attention to their problems and themselves. I guess they could spend that same amount of time, working, mowing lawns, shoveling snow, recycling bottles, like you can get Newman and Kramer into a fucking post office truck and recycle bottles in Michigan. I mean, something. But yet they have the time to do these online campaigns. And so anyway, folks, as you can see, I'm presenting a different side to the story. You may not like it, you probably don't. You probably think I'm being judgmental and hypocritical, and I probably am to some extent. But I'm just telling you, this is the way that people think. Not the way that people tell you they feel, or not the way they tell you that they think, but how they really feel about you in your campaign. They're looking down upon you. There's resentment. There's disdain. You're not building your community. You are destroying it. So think again before you do your online campaign. Go fund yourself.